Hello and welcome to Diamond Cast, the music show with Diamond Black, where we talk openly and honestly about the highs and lows of being in a band. It's Musicians' Mental Health Month this April, and our first topic is about sobriety and creativity, and the meaning behind Diamond Black's new single, Fall Into the Silence. Stay tuned to hear Ben reveal his personal story on the Recovery Elevator podcast, as well as his experience with a sound bath. Let's get into it.
Greetings and salutations.
Welcome to Diamond Cast. I don't know what episode we are. 33. We're on episode 33. And this week we are going to talk about mental health and music because it is Musicians' Mental Health Month.
Nice.
It's Musicians' Mental Health Month for the whole of April. So we're going to have a segment every episode about mental health. So we're going to be talking about that later on. But first of all, how are we all doing?
Well, first of all, on the subject of M's, Vincent's in Miami.
What's the M got to do with it?
Because M stands for Miami.
Yes, that's right.
What's going in Miami?
I'm in
why is your hair
Miami,
look so good?
Your spring break.
Florida.
Do you know?
I wish.
No, I said the same thing. His hair looks amazing. It's like the best. It's like gone twice as long or something.
I was swimming earlier. We were swimming, and I had a shower. That was it.
Looks
So
incredible.
maybe a combination of chlorine and just normal water and
Makes
You're
it
on tour,
grow.
right? You're
That's
on
what it
tour,
is.
not holiday. Come on. Especially for
Yeah.
kids.
we arrived last night. We're playing on a cruise ship.
Cool.
Cool.
Festival on a cruise ship is like we'll be 7 days on the cruise. There's like 20 to 30 bands playing on this cruise ship for the duration of the tour, for the duration of the travel. And we'll be stopping on Sunday. We'll be stopping at the Dominican Republic,
Cool.
and on Tuesday we'll be at the Bahamas.
Oh, what?
Wow.
Quite exciting, yeah.
That's awesome. Living the dream.
And we're playing 2 shows on this cruise ship. On the 7 days, we're doing 2 shows.
Do
Sunday
you play
and
on the ship, or do you get off?
yeah, we play on the ship.
Oh,
yeah,
cool,
on the
nice.
actual ship. They have different stages. They have pool stage, theater, which is quite massive. The atrium, some other smaller venues and stuff.
So
Do
like
you
a
play-
rock and
so
roll
like-
cruise.
Wait, sorry. So, like, you're playing in the same venue on the ship, but in different cities. So, like, it's just the same.
Yeah, or
Oh,
just
so
on
cool.
the somewhere on the sea, somewhere in the middle of
Oh, cool.
whatever international waters, and then basically all of those 20, 30 bands are going to be playing all throughout the journey.
That's awesome, because in terms of like setting up, you're just setting up at the same venue over and over again.
Yeah.
So it must be quite convenient and quite helpful as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, we played something like this, a similar one. I think in 2019.
It's like doing a residency, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
blues. Cool.
yeah. So we're leaving tomorrow, and today we have a day off. So I went swimming.
What are you doing
Like-
in Miami today for your day off?
We're going to Miami Beach later, just having a few drinks. It's a day, like I said, it's a day off. So we don't have anything. We're basically free the whole day, and that's why I was able to do this cast. And just gonna go to Miami Beach because last time I was here, Ben, you and I, we didn't have time to do anything. We literally got here, set up, played, and fuck along, left.
I don't
we
even remember.
didn't do anything because there was no time. We were driving God knows how many hours the next day. So
I don't even remember
today I'm going to see Miami Beach.
that we were there, which probably says a lot about it. Was it one of those ones where we were in the van? Was it that tour, the van tour?
Yeah, the van tour.
Right, so yeah, the one where we were actually in the van for probably 80% of the entire tour because of all the driving.
But you've been here many times, right?
to
the system.
Miami.
I can picture
yeah.
you on like Muscle Beach or something. Ben.
Probably working out.
Why am I imagining you on roller skates?
Roller blades. Thank you.
Blades, sorry. Yeah.
Um,
Sorry.
I must have been at some point, but I've been to more like Fort Lauderdale. What are some of the other places in Florida?
Orlando.
Yeah, like I don't think I've done Miami for whatever reasons. But what are some of the key things about Miami, Vincent? What are its like famous vibes?
Well, I heard someone really wanted to go to the Art Deco somewhere there. I don't know what that is, so we're gonna check that out. And like I said, just Miami Beach, just checking out the breweries and pubs and bars and see what's out there. And then
Sounds fun.
Nothing too
fun.
crazy. Just gonna see what's out there.
What's it like going so quickly from one tour to another tour with your headspace of you've got X amount of songs that you've just done with Esprit d'Air, and now you've got X amount of songs to do with Pendragon? How do you just switch between the two?
Well, actually, I've been preparing for these tours for about a month before the Esprit tour started. So I knew I wouldn't have enough time to practice the Pendragon set. So I was basically for the whole month of, I think it was February, I was rehearsing big set because I went on tour with them before. Big,
bloody hell!
Yeah. So it's like I was rehearsing around 52 songs, maybe 52, 54 songs in February for big Esprit and Pendragon.
Now I understand even more why you wanted to get our album finished by a certain deadline, because
yes, because there was absolutely no time to finish it, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad we set a deadline. Okay, we have to do the drums, finish it by this. I think it was the second week of January. So I'm glad it's all done, and it's just it's more relaxing that way. So I can go on tour without worrying anything about unfinished business.
That's really good. That's really cool, and great discipline from you. Great discipline from you. I mean, how do you manage to, like, I guess this sort of segues into what we're going to talk about today. Is that in order to have that level of organization, what do you do in your life for your mental health to make sure that you've got that discipline, that compartmentalization, you're able to just switch from one thing to the next? What are the things that help to give you that clarity and that work ethic when you're actually under very tight schedules and deadlines?
I think also having a set of actual schedules. I basically just stick to that. If I say, okay, I have 3 tours coming up, so I have to have the discipline, like you said. This week I'm learning this set, second week, third week, and so on, and just stick to it. And I think, like what we talked about last time, we just have to love what we do. Otherwise, it can get too stressful and too overwhelming. Even now I feel like, oh man, this is too much, too many songs. It can feel a little bit overwhelming, but I just have to do it, and I want to do it. I want to make sure I'm well prepared before the start of the first show of whatever band.
How many hours can you work a day and be productive when you're learning stuff?
Yeah, the thing is, when I learn songs, if it's something that I've never heard before and I have to learn the set, I normally just play the song in the background, just have it in the background, whether I'm having breakfast, having lunch, or doing some admins. I just have it in the background before I even go in the studio and actually playing it. So I just have it, just try to absorb as much, a detail and as much songs as possible. And then I go to the studio and then I say, okay, this is familiar now. And then I go to the little details and just hone it. And
when you're on one tour and you're already really confident with the stuff because you've played like 10 shows in a row, do you already start listening to the next band, or do you like to wait until you're off the tour before you start listening to the next band?
Sometimes I do. Like in the middle of Esprit tour, I started listening, or just on the practice spot, I was practicing some Pendragon songs, or even in the big tour, because big tour was quite short. So I was already kind of like rehearsing in my head some of the Esprit song, or when we're traveling, I have it in my earphones, headphones, just listening to the other songs.
And because you're so confident with the set that you're doing at that time, it doesn't interfere or undermine the set you're doing at the time, because you're so confident with it and it's second nature. So you're able to have the mental bandwidth to then look at the next stuff that's coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for example, with us, Diamond Black, when we played the tour, like when we did that tour with Esprit there, I think after the second or the third show, we get really, really confident. The first show is always kind of like, okay, first show, it's very different from practicing in the rehearsal room. And then you get the idea, okay, now we're getting it. And then second show, okay, we're getting the flow. And then third show, we normally get really tight after the third show. And, I think after the third or fourth show, everyone in the band is kind of like a lot more comfortable playing on stage. That goes the same with me, with any band. After the third show, I get really, okay, this is all right.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really cool. And wow, so impressive that you've got essentially like 4 different bands sets all in there and you're able to switch between them.
It's because he's tough.
Exactly.
So,
well, it's good that I have a day off today, so because I could really use a day off because I've been working nonstop since February. So it's nice to have a day off in Miami and do absolutely.
What better place to have a day off? I mean, it must be sunny and lovely. What's the temperature?
Right now, when I checked it was 28.
That's perfect, really, isn't it?
28.
Better here.
It's quite warm and a little bit humid, but
sounds good. I mean, you got the vest out, so
the vest always out.
Did you just pack vests?
Yeah. Oh, they don't take out much space to the suitcase, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Actually, my check-in luggage is almost went over the limit. Not because of clothes, but because of my gear. I had to bring my pedal, my roll and my electronics and stuff, and my mixer. So that almost went over the limit. I only have a small suitcase for my personals. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so what has been going on in Diamond Blackland over the last week?
Wow.
Way!
Way!
Wait, I'll put this in.
Who wants to announce it?
Go on, Ben.
Yes, so we were delighted to discover this week, and delighted, so me. We were delighted.
That's what I thought.
It was great. We're delighted to discover that we've entered the German alternative singles charts at number 4, which is insane. Some of the other artists in there are like Till from Rammstein and Gottminister and Birthday Massacre and stuff. So for us, that's like super exciting and really motivating and affirming. And in fact, I was just walking over to the cafe behind my house yesterday, and I remember walking along that same route, seeing the same stuff around me when we were working on the song and thinking, oh God, I can't wait to get this song out. I think it's so great. And just having that moment of, oh yeah, at some point, only like 4 or 5 of us had actually heard it. And now it's real and now it's out there and it's making a difference. And the song is Dark Anthems. And it's out there and it's having an impact like globally, even on a modest scale. It's great that it's doing that. It's having people who we look up to publicly talking about how good it is. And so that post that we did, that you guys put together, was like such a wonderful overview of what an achievement it is. And just the fact that ideas can go anywhere. A creative idea can start, like as it was at that time, it was still in its embryonic stage. We were recording it. We'd heard it, and then just thought, wow, now it's gone out and done all this great stuff. So that's been super exciting, and thank you guys for being so supportive to us and publicizing the song, sharing the song, and listening and watching and stuff. So for us, that's super super exciting, and who knows where things could be in a year from now when we've got our album out and there's so much more traction.
Really exciting, because we've always had really good support from Germany as well. We had wicked shows there, so thank you.
It's interesting.
Vielen Dank.
Yeah.
Vielen Dank.
We got a bit of German lyrics in Dark Anthems as well.
Yeah,
that's sweeten the deal, hasn't it? Really?
Exactly. Yeah. Spoken word.
Next song, put some lyrics of another country that you want to get to chart.
That's the new strategy.
I really like what you said there, Ben. That really is something. When you said ideas can go anywhere. That is really something. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
and that can be really inspiring, I think, for anybody, is that every successful creative idea was once someone just going, oh, what if I did this? And then it became Star Wars or whatever it is. That's a huge example, but everything came from just a creative idea that's a couple of people or one person or whatever, and then grew into something. So it's just about that persistence, isn't it? And just seeing it through and doing it for the joy of it, and which is often what helps you sustain a creative idea. It's like, I just love doing this. It doesn't matter if it goes anywhere. I just like doing it.
So talking of creative ideas that you guys have all had, you have also had a creative idea to write a really good song called Fall Into the Silence. And that is going to be a music video that is being made on May the 7th, I believe.
What an amazing segue that was. That was very, very good now. Very, very good. Yes. So we have been doing some fundraising for that because obviously there's a lot of costs involved in making a music video. And already you guys have been so brilliant in your donations and your very generous donations. And we've already been able to then get things underway. The place is booked in. We've got the
really cool venue.
The venue and the accommodation. We've got a date. So then we can start planning about when we release it, which then helps us to plan when we release the next thing as well. So the fact that you
Ben's
guys
spreadsheets are so happy.
That's right. Spreadsheets
and we've got
in creds sheets.
Ooh, that's lame, man.
It was pathetic, wasn't it? So that's thank you so much for your really, really kind donations, guys. And we still do need assistance and we still need help. So I'm sure the link is in the in the chat.
Yeah. For anyone who hasn't donated yet, if you want to, everything goes towards the video shoot and all of the things that are associated with the video shoot, like paying the director and all of those things. It's not going to be spent on, any frivolous things like food and drink and things like that. Yeah. It all goes towards, towards the good stuff.
Plus, everybody who makes a donation will get their name in the credits of the video. Plus, they'll get
on the screen,
in the video,
on the screen, not just in the description.
Like
on the screen forever.
Like
eternity.
Very good point. Within the video itself, not just in the description. And also a certificate signed by all of us that you can put on your wall that says that you were part of the energy and the power that made this video happen. Designed obviously by the wonderful Adam Hart. And also I believe there's going to be some pins, stroke badges that are very specially made for anybody who makes a donation that will possibly have a number of logos, catchphrases, things we talk about in this
Actually,
podcast.
I could do a little bit of a focus group here because I haven't decided what the designs for the badges would be. I've decided should they be based on the runes and Diamond Black specific, or because it's a limited edition one, shall I make a Diamond Cast set with some catchphrases and cast specific things, or a bit of both? Because they're going to put maybe a 4 badge set.
What if you did?
Go on, chat. Tell us.
Let us know in the comments and on Discord and chat what direction we should go in, and I'll design them.
That's a great idea. So you guys help us with that too. That'd be brilliant.
All silly or half silly or all sensible. Or both. Right. So head on to diamondblackofficial.com/store to get involved.
Now, Fall Into the Silence is actually, we don't want to give too much away, but it is actually, it's about suffering. It's about mental health, isn't it?
Yes, and in fact, because we are doing a mental health episode, you may remember last time that I donned my scarf.
What did I give you? I had a good name for you.
Oh,
Agatha Ben.
Agatha Christo.
Agatha Christo.
Yeah,
Agony, Auntie Agatha Christo.
Auntie Agony. So I've got my glasses. I've got my scarf, but this time I have upgraded the Sharpie to make it into a little pipe. You see, so
what have you got?
What's that?
It's one of those little medicine.
It's like a sample,
like a beaker.
I thought it was a sample too.
I think they're usually a bit bigger. That's actually quite small, right? Okay. But I love that. Of course, you had to make it base. Of course, you did. It's on brand. So that's my pipe, right?
Cool.
I'm very proud of that. I've attached a Sharpie with white tack, and
nice.
So
that's some thoughts.
You should patent that, man.
Absolutely, because this is so useful.
You should put bubbles in it.
Yeah, well, I thought it was going to be a bubble pipe. Let's
We'll work on that. We'll upgrade that when the budget goes up. When the budget increases.
If we get some donations for the video, we maybe could
use it on that.
Bubble pipe.
Maybe Ben can afford a real pipe, a bubble pipe.
So
cool.
Okay.
So Sorry, you were talking about what Fall Into the Silence is about before Ben had to get dressed.
So I mean that one is I mean, it's good because we talk about that one. I know we talked about it in the cast last time that it's one where we say to people that, you know, if you're struggling, this is a song about reaching out to people around you and asking for help. And there's a lot of power in vulnerability, and there's a lot of power about just talking to other people about things. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced it, but sometimes I've had a problem and I've just like stewed about it. And as soon as I talk to somebody else, suddenly the solutions start presenting themselves just by getting it out there. Even if that person doesn't go, you should do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Once you put it out and you hear somebody else ask you more questions, or they just empathize or whatever, suddenly it becomes simpler. And so I think it's really important that we can all have people around us that we feel that we can trust to reach out to. And that's very much what that song is about. So the chorus, you know, is there anyone anywhere? Or will I fall into the silence in the end? It's the idea of that if you just being insular and just being by yourself, there's a very real chance that these anxieties and these problems can become overwhelming because you aren't connecting with other people. And that's very much what, you know, our shows are about, is about bringing people together, and what the cast is becoming, what the Discord is becoming, of creating a space where people can communicate. So that song is very much about that feeling of isolation and being stuck in sort of an anxiety and toxic cycle, but suggesting, you know, one can reach out and make contact and find community.
That's great.
Lovely.
Lovely. Yeah. So
I didn't make it silly. I didn't undermine
You didn't.
No, it's lovely. That's because it's lovely. And I was
lovely.
doing a pause for pondering.
Yeah.
For pondering. So April is Musicians' Mental Health Month, according to the Musicians Union. So in the spirit of that, what we'll do is we'll have a little segment every week about a different thing to focus on your mental health within the musical world. So today, let's talk about sobriety and mental clarity to start with. So things like, have periods of sobriety helped you creatively or mentally? Does chaos fuel creativity, or does stillness and health actually do better? And sort of, what does sobriety actually mean for each of you? I mean, it doesn't have to be literal. It can be mental clarity, cutting toxicity. It could be periods of sobriety versus periods of non-sobriety, and all of those things around kind of just being peaceful.
Well, I'm going to take it in a very literal sense, because I used to really struggle with alcohol. And what it's meant for me is that now I don't have that anymore. I've got so much more time. I've got so much more time because I'm not hungover, not wanting to do anything. I've got so much more time because I'm not just going out drinking. And also the mental headspace of, I'm not creating new problems for myself, which would happen when I would drink heavily. And I would not only be creating problems because of the anxiety of the hangover for 2 days, but also I would end up doing stupid things like, you know, annoying someone or falling out with somebody else or whatever it was, that then created new problems for me that I then had to try and solve later with a hangover, which was awful. And often these problems that I created with other people were just, I'd imagined them. They weren't even real. But the paranoia and the anxiety meant that when I woke up those next days feeling hungover, I was already sure that I'd fallen out with people, even though there was no evidence to suggest it other than my paranoia. So rather than working...
Anxiety.
Anxiety. So rather than working for a couple of days of that...
They call it that. They call it. It's not me. I didn't coin that. That's actually a genuine thing people suffer. It's the overthinking after you've been drinking, so things seem worse. And then when you stop being hungover, actually, it's not so bad.
Yeah. So the time saved of just not doing that not feeling like that for days on end, and the headspace. And then I've also been able to learn a lot more about the process and why I was drinking so heavily. What was the reason for it? And it was to sort of quiet an inner critical voice, anxiety. And so learning more about that has helped me now in the lyric writing, which we talked about last week, look at solution-based aspects through the songs, rather than simply being, this is about a subject that is based on something negative. It's, okay, that is the starting point, but let's look at the solutions. And so sort of learning more about those sort of mental health issues has helped me with the writings for the songs as well. And just feeling sober means that I want to get up at 6 a.m. and start my day then, you know, that beautiful feeling of being up early and getting things done. Whereas when I used to drink, I was in a cycle of waking up very late because I'd be drinking the night before, and I never really broke out of that during the week. And then the weekend would come around again. So those are the things that have helped me in terms of having that sobriety.
I'd say in terms of being a musician and sobriety, like even though there's like loads of famous rock stars who are massive addicts, and it seems like synonymous with being in a band that you're going to be a party addict and stuff. If you've got an addictive personality or can't handle things like that, this is really not a good career choice for you. Because like, you have a lot of responsibilities and you're going to be in venues which have bars and parties all the time. So if you can't really handle that, then it's not going to be very good. I mean, I know a lot of bands now, when they're looking for new members, they'll put like no addiction issues as one of the things, like, looking for guitarist London, no addiction issues as a thing. not just because they've been around the block. It's like, it's not going to work out well in the long run. So I think you have to be sort of in control of yourself, have fun, but like, don't let it get control of you.
Yeah, and what you said, and it was surrounded not only literally by alcohol, but by...
not surround yourself with alcohol. You can't like just, I'm never going to go to a pub again, because then you'll never play a gig again. Because so you have to be able to handle both kind of worlds.
Yeah.
What about you, Vinny?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I stopped drinking heavily like 10 years ago until we did that tour, and then we started drinking 2 weeks on the tour, and it ended up in a complete mental breakdown on my part, and it was just so bad. I was completely messed up for a few months because it wasn't just alcohol. It was a combination of a lot of things. Long travel, long journeys, adrenaline on before the show, after the show, and then late nights drinking, and all of those things added. And then when I got back after so you do that. Maybe, I don't know, multiply that, how many days we were on tour, almost several weeks. So multiply that. And then after the tour, it's all stopped, went down. Chemical imbalance was too much. I was completely messed up. And after that, I stopped drinking heavily. I still drink occasionally. Like, tonight I'll have maybe one. And that's it. I think, like Adam said, you have to really control yourself. Otherwise, you can't. I know people who says they want to stay away from alcohol, but like Adam said, it's impossible when you're in a band. It's just impossible. You're playing venues that has bars and serving alcohol. Not only that, people actually buying you alcohol. I think that's what happened with us on that tour. People were buying me shots and alcohol, so I just couldn't say no, which was kind of stupid in a way, because I could have said no, but I didn't. And then it all spiraled, out of control, and that's why it ended up being a complete mental breakdown after the tour. So that's I learned my lesson then. I won't be doing that again.
I'd say another element of tying into being a band and a musician as well is like, there's a lot of not just highs and lows of like a gig, but like when you finish doing a tour and you're back home, then you're if you can't carry on at the same sort of rate of drinking you would be if you were on tour, because then you're either just going to be on your own all the time getting drunk, or you're going to have to go back to a normal job, and it's not going to, there's such a thing as like post-tour like come down or post-tour depression or whatever, and that it won't go hand in hand with your getting depressed from drinking as well, so it's not very good.
Well, yeah, and I used to be very guilty of coming back off a tour and just going straight to the pub, and because to just be around people, but it wasn't the right way to be around people, because then I was just drinking to try and sedate myself from that low and try and recreate like a false high. Because I always remember that after I'd had about 2-3 drinks, when I used to drink, I'd start to feel really confident. I'm like, I can do anything. I've got no problems at all. Anything that I thought was bad an hour ago, I don't care anymore. And that feeling of power, that fake high, was something that I'd really chased. And of course, you drink more, and then it goes off, it sort of goes away, because you sort of go beyond it into something else. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Adam, that when you come back from a tour like that and that high, because you've had a creative high, you've had a meeting people high, you've had a traveling high, there's so much stuff, you're doing your own thing.
Yeah.
That to then go back to sometimes being, alone or in a job you don't like or whatever, it can be quite dangerous. And the lure of wanting to just get drunk to sort of to mask that, I certainly found was quite a strong lure.
I suppose also because the pub, if you're playing in places where people are drinking, which you always are as a band, whether it's a pub or an arena or whatever, there are still, people go there for their night out. So you have a really good mental association with those places, because that's where you felt the high of being at your creative peak, right? So you then, and being rewarded by all the fans, clapping and talking to you afterwards and cheering and finding it an amazing time. So you then try to associate those places with that feeling. So you will naturally go towards those places and try and spend as much time there to recreate it, I guess.
Yeah, to recreate that connection with other people, even if it's not when you're drinking heavily. Certainly I found that I'd go out and I'd drink heavily and I would be talking to people, but we had nothing in common other than we were both drinking. And then if I saw that person on the street a week later, I'd be like, all right, mate, because there was never really a connection there.
Alcohol-free beers are quite helpful for that if you want to go to the pub.
Absolutely.
And they actually are really good.
You can feel that you're a bit more in the room than you were if you were, certainly for me, if I was drinking like another pint of orange juice. It just feels...
A pint of orange juice on its own is quite a lot.
Yeah,
you don't want, it's probably a 1 limit, 1 pint limit on the orange juice.
But alcohol-free beers have only got less than 50 calories or whatever, maybe 17 calories per drink or something, which is good because then you can drink them, quite a lot of them, and then you don't ruin the diet, but also you
drink yourself thin.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And there's loads of different ones out there now, especially in the last sort of 5 years. Loads of really good alcohol-free beers have come up, so you can enjoy a night at the pub with other people who are drinking, and also you don't look like you don't automatically standing around in a group if you've got like a pint in your hand or a bottle of beer, rather than having your pint of orange juice or a J2O.
I understand that for a lot of people, me included, sometimes part of being in the pub is feeling part of that camaraderie and part of we're all having a drink. And then if you're there, like you say, Nat, with your really obvious J2O, it just feels like you're not quite connected with the rest of the environment. Whereas if you've got a pint, you've poured a Guinness Zero or whatever it is, just looks like a pint. It's wicked. So it does help. And I know that certainly people can feel nervous about the social situation of not drinking, but that can certainly help that.
You actually get I found quite a lot of respect from people when they say, oh, they don't look at you like, oh, you're not drinking, that's boring. They look at you like, oh, good for you if you're taking care of your health.
Well, yeah, in fact, funnily enough, when people have asked me about being sober, people have either said something like, oh, I was completely sober once for 2 months. They sort of want to match it, or they say, I could never do that. I wish I could do that. And that's it. So you usually get quite a positive response from people. And when I was 3 months sober in January 2022, I went on this podcast called Recovery Elevator, which has been going for ages. And I was listening to the podcast as I was going through my first months of sobriety, and it really helped me hearing very everyday people's stories about how they overcame drinking, the real lows, the journey, the recovery. And it's so interesting to hear the parallels, and you're like, oh wow, I never did anything that was quite that bad, or wow, that's the same as what I did. And so I listened to that for about 3 months, and it really helped me. And then I just wrote to them and I said, look, I'm an English guy, and it's all American people on this podcast. I'm a musician. Would you be interested in interviewing me? And to my delight, they said yes. And it was amazing because these people were like rock stars to me. I listened to their podcast every week, and now I was going to be on it. So I did this podcast with them, Jan 22. Hilariously, they called it Booze Cruise because it was about drinking on tour. And that really helped me because it gave me the accountability of, it was September. The interview was going to be in January, so I had to get through Christmas and New Year without drinking. It was the first time I'd ever done it. Because I knew I had the podcast coming, it gave me the power to go, I want to go onto that podcast and say, I just made it through Christmas and New Year sober. Went on the podcast, it was brilliant. And then last week I wrote to him and I said, look, can we do a follow-up? Because it's 3 years later.
Yeah, I'm on this podcast.
And I've got and I've got so much to tell you guys now. So they got back to me straight away. Yeah, we'd love to have you back on the show. And that's really exciting for me because it's not only creating accountability for myself to be like, great, here's a reminder of why I feel happy about this choice. But also those things can help other people as they helped me. So yeah, I think things like podcasts and sometimes talking about it publicly, if you're comfortable, can be a really strong thing.
Yeah. And you don't have to be like completely sober either. It's everyone does it in their own way.
Detox periods, do whatever you want.
Exactly. So like periods of sobriety, periods of detoxing.
Yeah, find out what works for you.
Yeah, totally. And I'm very, very keen to say that I think if people can drink and it makes them happy and it makes their life better and it enriches, then absolutely go for it. It's more about people who, for them, alcohol creates big problems for them and they feel they can't get away from it and stuff. That's when I think, there's an issue. But I think...
one of Natalie's questions was, sorry, I've missed it. Fuck it. Does chaos fuel creativity? And with drinking, I don't think it does. I don't think it does fuel creativity. I think it's actually probably more detrimental. So in terms of songwriting and being a musician and doing what you have to do, I think it's probably not going to be positive.
I mean, have you ever made anything that you did whilst drunk that you think is better than you could have done while sober?
Well, I mean, probably thought it was the fucking mad notes when you're drunk,
yeah.
But yeah.
At that time, you think you've done something special. It's like in drums as well. Like when you're playing drums and you're drunk, you think you're, Steve Gadd or Neil Peart, but in reality, you're just really, really sloppy. But that's what it does to you.
I remember
join a punk band or join a sloppy band that it won't notice.
There was oh god, the thing about when I was drinking is I'd never drink on stage. I never drink before a performance. It was always afterwards. It was always the party. But there was one time where I got caught out because I went to something called Metalworks in London, which was a night where they would play covers, and then towards the end of the night they'd have guests get on the stage. So what had happened was I'd gone along just wanting to be a punter, and I was drinking and I got really, really drunk. And then the guy spotted me in the audience from the stage and said, "Oh, Ben, get up and play this AC/DC song with us," right? And because I was drunk, I was like, "Yeah!" It was the most cringeworthy thing I've ever done. Or it was just, I remember being on stage and because I was so drunk, there was this dilation between me thinking about doing something and me actually playing, this tangible time dilation of I just couldn't do it. Then of course there's a video of it.
Did you know that you were playing really badly at the time? Were you like, this is a bad idea? Or were you full of confidence at the time?
It was this weird combination of, I felt like, oh yeah, I know this song really, really well. I must be playing it really well, but I can't quite seem to get that right. Why is it not working?
What's it? Your guitar's broken.
Exactly. Yeah.
Drummer's out of time, maybe.
That was probably it. Yeah, it's probably like everyone else is getting it wrong. Yeah. But yeah, that was, and I never planned to do that because I was so vibed up by the idea of going on stage because I was drunk, it sort of, I fell foul to that. So, yeah.
So perhaps Dutch courage is a fallacy, and really the thing that will give you the most courage is actually being confident.
Yeah, because I even remember thinking it myself. There was about 10 years ago, there was a singer in a band and he didn't drink at all. And I remember thinking, oh, how boring. He must have nothing to write about because nothing interesting ever happens. And I thought that was true. And of course, that's not at all true. You create brilliant, wonderful experiences in your life.
Especially if you're a singer, then you actually use your voice and you need to be able to actually say words properly and sing properly. You can probably mask it a bit with guitar or bass because playing, but you can't really drunk and sing unless you're maybe in an Irish band or something.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah, and of course, and this guy is an incredible singer, and I totally respect the fact that he was sober and his performances were always absolutely spot on. Yeah. And that, retrospectively, I realised I probably wanted to follow that discipline, but thought I couldn't, so therefore I was like, oh, that's rubbish, I don't want to do that anyway. Because I was sort of threatened by the fact that he made this choice that had obviously made things really good for him.
That is what I guess what frightens people about taking the first step into kind of, just even monitoring their own or taking care of their own or detoxing themselves, is that one fear of actually we know that these people have a superpower, which is that they're in control of themselves all of the time. And then when you find out, you know, that you can do it, and then you realize, oh, actually, it's not so bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say that I think one of the greatest things about sobriety for me is that I know that every choice that I've made for the last 3.5 years, I've been the same version of myself. I'm not making up for somebody else's bad choices and like my alter ego's bad choices. And if choices haven't gone the way I've wanted to, I still feel accountable, and I still know that I made the choice as me. And that's such a brilliantly liberating feeling. So yeah, I think what you said there, Nat, makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, Sugarpunk asked Ben, how was the sound bath, and do you recommend it?
It depends if you like that sort of thing.
What is a sound bath? You have to explain.
Oh yes, sorry, but yeah, to the people that weren't in the Discord, explain what you did last week and what it is, and then tell us if you recommend it.
A sound bath is a meditative experience where you go into a room and it's either you or a few other people, and you lie down on a yoga mat, and then one or two other musicians come in and they create some like sonic instrumental sounds with things like Tibetan singing bowls or certain percussions or even singing. And the idea is that these different instruments they're using, whether it be their voice or percussion or, I said, the bowls, they resonate on different frequencies, which can help you to feel more relaxed or create some sort of healing. If you have any truck or belief in things like chakras, that's what they're saying, that different instruments and different frequency ranges affect different chakras in the body. Even if you don't believe that stuff, it's still extremely relaxing that you're just there closed and you've got these wonderful kind of sensations around you of this very atmospheric and calming music. Plus you're in a space with other people who are also doing it. So it feels like a nice sort of sense of connection and community, and very calm. And it's just a calm environment with the lighting and the sound.
I was going to say, is it all like candly and
Zen?
Yeah, yeah, and you feel like you've detached from the world for an hour or so, and yeah, you come out of it feeling quite dreamy and calm. So yeah, it's a good and different thing to do, and it was really cheap as well, because I think lots of people are doing it. So the overheads are quite small.
That's actually very good for musicians' mental health as well, because it's a sound bath. There you go.
Exactly.
That's great. That's a great thing. It totally ties in with the theme. What about you, Adam and Vincent? Would you do a sound bath?
I do.
I would consider it 100%.
I do one of those sensory deprivation tank things, because you can put sound in that. That'd be interesting. That's what I was imagining. It was like
a floating tank thing.
It's like a floating tank you can go in, and it's all dark and stuff, and then they put like
you're in water,
music on that, and then it's like floating and stuff. That's what I was imagining a sound bath is, because of the bath part.
Oh, because it's not actually a bath.
Yeah, it's not actually a bath. Yeah, but
it's a bath for your ears.
I'll do one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're bathing in sound.
I probably fidget too much. My problem. I don't think
you wouldn't float. You'd think, or like, no, because that's the thing. It chills you out, so you don't fidget. I think. Yeah. I don't know. I've always wanted to go to one as well. Actually,
I've seen myself on this podcast. I never sit still. I don't think I'd be able to sit still long enough for.
I know what's going to happen if I have the sound bar. I'll fall asleep 100%.
Yeah.
The question is, how long will it take you to fall asleep?
2 minutes.
We should all take bets.
Well, you can fall asleep, because you still have the your body subconsciously experiences a bit like if you listen to a hypnotherapy tape when you fall asleep listening to it. Same thing. You're still your brain is still hearing. They say some stuff at the start and at the end to sort of segue into it, but not during.
Like bang at the end.
I know you would if it was your one. You like have an air horn.
Yeah.
I think we should send Diamond Black on a group sound bath activity. Cool. That would be quite fun. Wouldn't it?
Do a rock and roll sound bath, but I don't know.
It's like AC/DC pumping at you. Like
that's just a disco.
Yeah. A discotheque. Okay. Cool. I think we're running out of time for this week.
Yeah, we're going to go to a disco now. So
a Discord. You can join us on Discord.
Yes. That's good. It's so full of segues today. Cool. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you, guys.
Talking about mental health so openly and honestly and authentically.
Thanks.
Brilliant. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, cool. Please give us a like and subscribe on the video. See you later.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and as always, please don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment for Diamond Black, as they will probably reply. We'll see you next week. Bye.